and a few have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. In today's video, we're counting down 5 rare error, extremely valuable, and hardest to find pennies every collector should know about. Make sure you watch until the end, because the last penny might be the most surprising of them all. Proves that even a well-known Lincoln wheat penny can become the center of attention when unusual characteristics, collector demand, and exceptional rarity come together. This is the 1955 Abraham Lincoln wheat 1 cent with a Denver mint mark, described as a large date error coin in circulated dirty condition. At first glance, many people would overlook a coin like this because of its worn appearance and dark surfaces. Yet experienced collectors know that some of the most valuable coins ever sold have shown years of honest circulation. What matters most is whether the coin possesses a
genuine mint-made rarity that separates it from the millions of ordinary cents struck during the same year. By 1955, the Lincoln wheat cent had already been part of American commerce for nearly half a century. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin had become one of the most recognized pieces of American currency. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features a dignified portrait of President Lincoln facing to the right. Above his portrait appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," while Liberty is positioned to the left and the date appears to the right. On Denver Mint coins, the small D mint mark sits beneath the date, identifying the facility where the coin was struck. The reverse carries the famous wheat ears design, with 2 graceful stalks surrounding the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Across the upper rim appears E pluribus unum, completing one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. Although this design remained largely unchanged for 50 years, every production year developed its own story, and collectors continue to study these coins in remarkable detail. The year 1955 is especially famous in the numismatic world because of the legendary doubled die. Lincoln cent struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That famous variety has captured headlines for decades, causing many collectors to examine every 1955 wheat penny they encounter. While the celebrated doubled die carries no mint mark, this increased attention has also led collectors to closely inspect Denver issues for unusual striking characteristics, die errors, plancher flaws, repunched mint marks, and other legitimate mint varieties. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents during 1955 to satisfy the nation's demand for small change. Most entered circulation immediately and spent decades changing hands in grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations, and neighborhood businesses. Because these coins were used daily, the majority became heavily worn, stained, scratched, or discolored. Many examples today display the dark brown or dirty appearance that naturally develops after decades of circulation and environmental exposure. A circulated dirty condition should never cause a collector to dismiss a coin automatically. In fact, many important discoveries have been made among worn collections inherited from family members or found inside forgotten jars. Dirt, oxidation, and age may hide important details until careful examination under proper lighting reveals characteristics that make the coin special. Collectors describing this coin as a large date error focus attention on the bold appearance of the numerals and the possibility that a genuine mint-made striking or die variety is present. Every suspected error requires professional verification because ordinary circulation damage can sometimes resemble a rare minting mistake. Specialists study the lettering, numerals, mint mark, strike pressure, die characteristics, and metal flow to determine whether the unusual appearance originated during production at the United States Mint. The small Denver Mint mark itself becomes an important point of examination. Experts carefully inspect its shape, position, and relationship to the date. On authentic mint varieties, the mint mark should display characteristics consistent with the production methods used during the mid-1950s. Any unusual placement or evidence of die preparation may significantly increase collector interest if confirmed by respected grading services. One reason collectors remain fascinated by wheat pennies is the enormous number of die combinations used throughout production. Working dies gradually wore out and were replaced, creating subtle differences between coins struck at different times during the year. While most of these differences are minor, An occasional mistake during die preparation or striking produced coins that later became highly desirable collectibles. Examining the portrait of Abraham Lincoln under magnification reveals remarkable artistry even on circulated examples. His hair, forehead, ear, cheek, bow tie, and coat continue to show Brenner's skill despite years of wear. Collectors appreciate coins that retain pleasing overall detail while also displaying an important mint-made error. A coin does not need to be perfect to become valuable. Sometimes a combination of moderate circulation, outstanding rarity, and certified authenticity is enough to attract determined bidders. The reverse deserves equal attention. Even on a well-circulated coin, traces of individual wheat grains often remain visible along both ears. The denomination stays bold, and the surrounding inscriptions continue to reflect the clean, balanced design that defined the wheat cent series until 1958. Collectors often evaluate strike quality by examining these details because weakly struck areas may provide clues about the production process. Authentication is the turning point for any potentially valuable error coin. Reputable grading companies use experienced specialists, advanced magnification, and detailed comparison with known varieties before assigning an attribution. Certification provides buyers with confidence that the coin is genuine and accurately described. In today's marketplace, certified error coins consistently attract stronger interest than uncertified examples because bidders can compete with greater confidence. The marketplace for Lincoln wheat errors has expanded significantly over the years. Serious collectors assemble specialized sets featuring striking errors, die varieties, planche defects, and unusual minting mistakes. Because many advanced collectors seek unique pieces rather than ordinary examples, exceptional error coins often generate spirited competition whenever they appear at public auction. Imagine a certified 1955 D Lincoln wheat cent displaying a dramatic authenticated mint error, attractive remaining detail despite circulation, and a naturally aged dark appearance that confirms decades of history. Such a coin would appeal not only to Lincoln cent specialists, but also to collectors who focus exclusively on United States mint errors. When multiple determined bidders pursue the same exceptional specimen, auction prices can climb far beyond ordinary catalog values. Market conditions also influence realized prices. During periods of strong collector demand, truly unusual certified error coins frequently outperform expectations because opportunities to purchase comparable examples are extremely limited. Collectors understand that another similar specimen may not appear for years, encouraging aggressive bidding among those determined to strengthen their collections. If this particular 1955 D Lincoln wheat cent possessed a rare authenticated mint-made error, exceptional eye appeal, strong certification from a respected grading service, and outstanding provenance through a major numismatic auction, it could command an extraordinary premium in today's specialized collector market. Under those exceptional circumstances, an elite example might realize approximately $567,800 at auction. That figure would apply only to a remarkable, fully authenticated rarity with characteristics far beyond those found on ordinary 1955 D Lincoln cents. This remarkable coin reminds us that valuable discoveries often begin with careful observation rather than perfect condition. A dark, circulated wheat penny may appear ordinary to most people, but to a knowledgeable collector, it represents an opportunity to uncover an important piece of American minting history. Every genuine error tells the story of a brief moment when something unexpected occurred inside the United States Mint, leaving behind a permanent record preserved in copper alloy. Decades later, those tiny production mistakes continue to inspire collectors, historians, and treasure hunters around the world, proving that even the smallest 1-cent coin can become an unforgettable highlight of a world-class collection when rarity, authenticity, history, and collector demand come together. Next up, 1971. Lincoln Memorial. Penny with a large date, a Denver mint mark, unusual surface characteristics, and a dramatic line crossing Abraham Lincoln's portrait. We'll separate true mint errors from ordinary damage, explain what collectors actually pay for, and explore why certain examples have sold for impressive amounts. The Lincoln cent remained one of the most widely used coins in the United States during the early 1970s. By 1971, Americans handled millions of pennies every day for groceries, gasoline, newspapers, and countless small purchases. Because these coins circulated heavily, most surviving examples show years of wear, scratches, discoloration, and contact marks. That is exactly why truly exceptional examples and genuine mint errors attract so much attention today. Collectors know that among millions of ordinary coins, only a tiny percentage display characteristics that can command substantial premiums. The 1971 Lincoln Memorial Cent was struck at multiple United States mint facilities, including the Denver Mint, which produced coins carrying the familiar D Mint mark below the date. Denver manufactured billions of cents that year, making the date itself common. However, rarity in coin collecting is not determined only by mintage. Condition, striking quality, certified mint errors, unusual die varieties, and collector demand all work together to determine value. This particular coin is described as having a large date, a damaged-looking D mint mark, rusty color, and a line across Abraham Lincoln's portrait. The first thing experienced collectors ask is whether those features happened during the minting process or long after the coin entered circulation. That distinction can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and another worth thousands of dollars. Many beginners believe that every strange-looking coin is automatically valuable, and unfortunately, that is not how the market works. A coin that has been scratched with a knife, exposed to chemicals, or damaged by machinery after leaving the mint usually loses value rather than gaining it. Professional grading services carefully examine every unusual coin to determine whether the feature is a genuine mint error or post-mint damage. The large date style on a 1971 cent is normal for the year and does not by itself create rarity. Instead, specialists carefully inspect the coin for doubled dies, die cracks, die chips, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, struck-through errors, wrong planchets, and repunched design elements. When one of these authentic mint-produced errors appears on an otherwise attractive coin, collector demand can increase dramatically. Looking closely at Abraham Lincoln's portrait reveals one of the most important parts of any authentication process. If the line across Lincoln's face was created by a cracked die before the coin was struck, it may represent an interesting die crack that collectors appreciate. If the line was cut into the coin after it entered circulation, it becomes post-mint damage and generally adds no premium. Magnification, lighting, and professional examination help determine which explanation is correct. The Denver mint mark deserves similar attention. Collectors frequently encounter coins with damaged mint marks caused by circulation, corrosion, or accidental contact with other objects. Those examples are common. However, if the mint mark shows evidence of a genuine die issue or another verified mint-made characteristic, specialists become much more interested. Authentication is always the key. Surface color also plays an important role in determining desirability. A genuine copper coin should naturally tone over time. Some develop attractive chocolate brown surfaces, while others display mixtures of red and brown. Coins exposed to moisture can develop corrosion that creates a rusty appearance. Although corrosion usually lowers value, naturally aged surfaces are different from environmental damage. Professional graders examine texture, luster, and color to determine whether a coin remains collectible. Collectors also study the strike quality of every Lincoln cent. Strong strikes reveal crisp hair details above Lincoln's ear, well-defined lettering, and sharp lines throughout the memorial on the reverse. Weak strikes, on the other hand, can blur important design elements. A sharply struck example with an authenticated mint error often attracts stronger bidding than an ordinary specimen with heavy wear. The reverse of the 1971 Lincoln Memorial Cent features the Lincoln Memorial Building, introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Careful collectors inspect every column, every letter in 1 cent and United States of America, and the tiny image of Lincoln visible inside the memorial. These details help experts judge strike quality, wear, and originality. Billions of Lincoln cents have been searched by hobbyists over the decades. Roll hunters purchase boxes of pennies from banks, searching for valuable varieties hidden among ordinary circulation coins. Most boxes contain nothing extraordinary, But every now and then an authenticated error or impressive high-grade example appears, reminding collectors why the search remains exciting. Auction records consistently demonstrate that certification matters. When a respected grading company authenticates a genuine mint error and assigns a numerical grade, buyers gain confidence in what they are purchasing. Certified coins often sell for significantly more than similar uncertified pieces because authenticity has already been carefully evaluated. Suppose this 1971 D cent were professionally examined and found to possess a genuine mint-made error in addition to strong remaining detail and attractive originality. In that situation, collector interest could increase substantially. Exceptional authenticated error cents from this era have reached impressive auction prices depending on the specific error, grade, rarity, and overall eye appeal. For the purpose of today's market discussion, an extraordinary certified example combining a desirable genuine mint error with excellent collector appeal could realistically approach about $64,750 at a competitive specialty auction. That figure would represent an exceptional coin with verified characteristics, not an ordinary circulated penny showing only environmental damage or accidental scratches. That distinction is one of the most valuable lessons for every collector. Genuine mint errors create rarity because they occurred during production at the United States Mint. Damage that happened years later usually reduces value instead of increasing it. Learning to recognize the difference saves collectors money and helps them focus on coins that truly deserve professional evaluation. If you own a 1971 D Lincoln Memorial cent with unusual features, avoid cleaning it. Even gentle cleaning can leave hairline scratches that permanently reduce collector value. Store the coin safely in a protective holder and compare it with photographs of authenticated examples. If the characteristics appear genuinely unusual, consider submitting it to a reputable grading service for expert examination. Stories of valuable Lincoln cents continue to inspire collectors of all ages because they remind us that history can still be found in everyday change. Every coin carries a journey through American commerce, passing from one pocket to another for decades before finally attracting the attention of a curious collector. While most pennies remain common, the rare authenticated exceptions continue to make headlines whenever they appear at auction. So before you spend another 1971 Lincoln Memorial penny, take a closer look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the portrait, the lettering, and the reverse design. Use a magnifying glass, compare it with verified references, and remember that knowledge is every collector's greatest tool. One careful inspection could reveal a genuine mint-made variety hiding in plain sight, and while most coins will never reach extraordinary prices, the search itself is part of what makes coin collecting one of America's most rewarding hobbies. Have you ever looked at an old wheat penny and wondered if it might be hiding a life-changing secret? Many collectors pass over worn, damaged coins every single day because they assume those coins have no value. Yet history has shown that unusual mistakes, rare die varieties, and distinctive minting defects can turn an ordinary-looking cent into one of the most exciting discoveries in American numismatics. That is exactly why today's first coin deserves a closer look. We are talking about the 1926 Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent with no mint mark, a large date, and an impressive lamination damage that created a long cut-like line running beside the left side of Abraham Lincoln's portrait. At first glance, someone unfamiliar with rare coins might think the coin was simply damaged after leaving the mint. Experienced collectors, however, know there is a major difference between ordinary damage and a genuine mint-made planchet defect. The story begins nearly 2 decades after the Lincoln cent first appeared in 1909. The wheat penny had already become one of the most recognized coins in America. It honored President Abraham Lincoln, the nation's 16th president, and replaced the Indian head cent. Victor David Brenner designed the coin with a detailed portrait of Lincoln on the front, while the reverse displayed 2 wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. The simple yet elegant design quickly became an American classic, and millions of people carried these pennies every day without realizing that some dates would later become highly collectible. The year 1926 was an interesting time in American history. The country was enjoying the Roaring '20s, industries were expanding, automobiles were becoming increasingly common, and the United States Mint was producing large quantities of coins to meet growing demand. Philadelphia struck the cents without a mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco produced coins bearing their respective mint marks. Since the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on Lincoln cents during that era, collectors identify those coins simply by the absence of any mint mark below the date. Millions of 1926 Lincoln cents were produced in Philadelphia, but mintage alone never tells the whole story. Most of those coins entered circulation immediately. They bought newspapers, groceries, train tickets, candy, and everyday necessities. As the decades passed, many were worn smooth, lost, melted, or damaged beyond recognition. Finding attractive survivors today has become increasingly difficult, especially examples that display genuine mint-made errors instead of post-mint damage. One of the most fascinating production problems involves lamination errors. Before a coin is struck, the mint prepares metal strips that are rolled to the proper thickness. Circular blanks are punched from those strips and later struck into coins. Occasionally, impurities, gas pockets, or imperfections remain inside the metal during manufacturing. When the coin is struck, part of the surface may separate or peel away, creating what specialists call a lamination error. Unlike scratches caused after circulation, a true lamination flaw originates inside the metal itself before the striking process. This makes such pieces especially interesting to collectors because the defect occurred during the mint's production process. Imagine examining a 1926 wheat penny under bright lighting. Along the left side of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, a dramatic, elongated lamination stretches across the surface like a deep cut. The metal appears lifted and uneven, creating texture that immediately catches the eye. The defect follows the natural contours of the coin instead of cutting sharply through the design as a post-mint scratch would. Under magnification, specialists can often see torn metal layers and irregular edges that confirm the error originated before the coin left the mint. Authentication is essential because many damaged coins are mistakenly advertised as rare mint errors. Professional grading services carefully examine the metal flow, strike characteristics, and surface texture to determine whether the lamination is genuine. If certified as an authentic mint-made lamination error, collector interest can increase dramatically, especially when the defect is unusually large, visually dramatic, and paired with a desirable early wheat cent date. The large date style on this 1926 cent adds another layer of discussion among collectors who enjoy studying subtle differences in numerals. Even small variations in date appearance can attract attention when combined with a significant mint error. Although the date itself is not among the famous varieties like the celebrated doubled dies of other years, collectors appreciate examples where every digit remains bold despite decades of circulation. Condition plays an enormous role in determining value. A coin described as being in rare circulated condition may still display considerable wear while retaining strong details in Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and the wheat ears on the reverse. If the legends remain readable, the rims are complete, and the lamination error is both dramatic and unquestionably genuine, demand can be surprisingly strong. Error collectors often prefer visually impressive pieces because they stand out in competitive collections and educational displays. The reverse of the coin deserves just as much attention as the obverse. The wheat ears symbolize America's agricultural strength, framing the denomination with elegant balance. On well-preserved examples, individual wheat kernels remain visible despite circulation. The inscriptions E pluribus unum across the top and United States of America around the center continue to reflect the craftsmanship that made the wheat penny one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. Collectors frequently search through old family collections, estate sales, bank rolls, flea markets, and inherited coin jars hoping to uncover overlooked treasures. Most 1926 Philadelphia cents are worth only modest premiums in circulated grades, but an authenticated mint-made lamination error transforms the conversation entirely. Instead of being viewed as ordinary pocket change, the coin becomes a fascinating production mistake with its own story to tell. Auction houses know that exceptional error coins generate excitement because every piece is unique. Unlike standard coins struck from normal dies, no two major lamination errors develop in exactly the same way. The length, depth, shape, and position of the defect create an individual fingerprint for each coin. This uniqueness encourages spirited bidding whenever an especially attractive example appears in a major numismatic sale. If an extraordinary 1926 Philadelphia Lincoln wheat cent displayed a spectacular lamination running beside Lincoln's portrait, retained strong remaining detail, received authentication from a respected grading service, and possessed excellent eye appeal, today's specialized auction market could see competitive bidding reaching approximately $528,500. That figure would represent an exceptional, one-of-a-kind specimen with remarkable visual impact, certified authenticity, and intense demand from advanced error coin collectors rather than an ordinary circulated 1926 cent. Stories like this remind collectors that rarity is not always about low mintage. Sometimes rarity comes from an unusual event during the minting process that affected only a tiny number of coins. Those accidental moments, preserved in metal for nearly a century, continue to fascinate collectors because they offer a direct glimpse into the manufacturing history of the United States Mint. Every authentic lamination error tells a different story, and every certified example adds another chapter to the remarkable history of America's beloved Lincoln wheat penny. Have you ever picked up an old penny that looked too damaged, too rusty, or simply too worn to have any value? Most people would toss it into a jar or spend it without a second thought. But experienced collectors know that appearances can be deceiving. Some of the most exciting discoveries in the coin collecting world have come from ordinary-looking Lincoln Memorial cents that hid extraordinary stories. One such coin is the 1984 Lincoln Memorial penny with a large date, no mint mark, and heavy, rusty-looking damage. While millions were produced for everyday use, a tiny number became highly desirable because of unusual minting characteristics, striking abnormalities, and exceptional collector demand. That is why collectors carefully inspect even the most worn examples before deciding whether they are common or something truly special. The 1984 Lincoln Memorial cent was struck during a fascinating period in American coinage. Just 2 years earlier, the United States Mint had changed the composition of the Lincoln cent from mostly copper to a zinc core covered with a thin layer of copper. Rising copper prices made the older bronze cents too expensive to manufacture, so the Mint adopted the new composition in 1982. By 1984, these copper-plated zinc cents had become the standard for circulation throughout the country. Although they looked similar to earlier pennies, their different metal composition caused them to age in unique ways. Exposure to moisture, soil, salt, and harsh environmental conditions often produced dark surfaces, bubbling, corrosion, and unusual colors that many people mistakenly described as rust. Since zinc itself does not rust like iron, these coins actually experience corrosion beneath the copper plating, creating rough textures and dramatic discoloration. The absence of a mint mark means this particular coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During 1984, Philadelphia struck billions of Lincoln cents to satisfy the enormous demand for small change across the United States. Because so many examples entered circulation, most remain worth only face value today. However, experienced numismatists understand that rarity is not determined solely by mintage numbers. A common date can become remarkably valuable when it displays an unusual striking error, a dramatic die variety, or a rare combination of characteristics that collectors eagerly pursue. When examining a 1984 Lincoln Memorial cent, collectors first study the obverse design. Abraham Lincoln's portrait, originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, remains one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Lincoln faces right with remarkable dignity, while the word liberty appears to the left. The date 1984 is positioned to the right of Lincoln's shoulder, and the national motto "In God We Trust" curves gracefully across the upper rim. On Philadelphia coins, there is no mint mark beneath the date, creating the familiar no mint mark appearance sought by collectors building complete date and mint collections. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the memorial displays impressive architectural detail despite the coin's small size. If viewed under magnification on a well-preserved example, even the tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial can sometimes be seen. Around the design appear the inscriptions, "United States of America," e pluribus unum, and 1 cent, completing one of the longest-running reverse designs in American history. Collectors often hear the phrase large date associated with Lincoln cents, particularly those from 1982, when both large date and small date varieties were officially produced. For 1984, the standard date style resembles the larger numerals familiar from the period, and many sellers describe these coins as large date examples. While the date style itself is not considered a major rarity for 1984, specialists still examine every numeral carefully because unusual die wear, die deterioration, or striking anomalies can create distinctive appearances that attract attention. Condition plays an important role in determining value, but not always in the way beginners expect. A heavily worn, dirty, or corroded coin generally commands very little unless it possesses an important mint error or recognized variety. This is why knowledgeable collectors never judge a coin solely by its appearance. Instead, they search for doubled lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks, retained cuds, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination errors, and other genuine mint-produced abnormalities that occurred before the coin ever left the mint. One of the most discussed varieties associated with the 1984 Lincoln cent is the famous doubled ear variety. On authentic examples, extra metal is visible around Lincoln's ear because the working die received a doubled impression during manufacture. Strong specimens are immediately recognizable under magnification and have become one of the best-known doubled die varieties of the Lincoln Memorial series. Even circulated examples can command substantial premiums when the doubling is clear and authenticated by respected grading services. Collectors also inspect these cents for die cracks that extend across Lincoln's portrait or through the lettering. Although many die cracks are minor, larger and more dramatic examples often receive significant attention because they document the gradual failure of the die during production. Every additional strike placed more stress on the steel die until cracks eventually formed, leaving raised lines on the finished coins. These fascinating mint-made features remind collectors that every coin tells part of the story of its own creation. Another area of interest involves plating blisters caused by the copper-coated zinc composition. Tiny bubbles may appear beneath the copper surface when corrosion develops under the plating. While ordinary plating bubbles are common and usually add no premium, unusually dramatic examples sometimes become conversation pieces among collectors because they illustrate the challenges of the post-1982 cent composition. Auction results demonstrate that collectors consistently pay the highest prices for exceptional examples possessing certified mint errors or important varieties. A normal circulated 1984 Philadelphia cent with environmental damage is generally worth only a few cents. However, a certified doubled ear variety in attractive condition, or a dramatic mint error verified by a leading grading company, can sell for thousands of dollars. Extraordinary examples combining strong eye appeal, rare mint-made characteristics, and high collector demand have reached impressive prices at specialized numismatic auctions. For this featured example, imagine a heavily circulated 1984 Lincoln Memorial cent with no mint mark, a bold date, unusual mint-produced striking characteristics, and authentication confirming an important collectible variety. In today's competitive auction market, such a coin could realistically attract bidding approaching $60,000 if it possessed an exceptionally rare combination of genuine mint errors, outstanding provenance, and strong certification. Those extraordinary values apply only to the rarest authenticated pieces, not to ordinary damaged coins that simply show wear or environmental corrosion. That is why experienced collectors encourage everyone to examine their pocket change carefully. Even a coin that appears dirty, dark, or heavily worn deserves a closer look before being dismissed. Hidden beneath years of circulation may be a genuine mint-made variety that transforms an ordinary-looking Lincoln cent into a remarkable collectible. The thrill of discovering such a piece keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies every day, proving that history, rarity, and careful observation can sometimes turn the smallest coin in your pocket into the highlight of an entire collection. Next up, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat. 1 cent without a mint mark looks like an ordinary penny that has spent decades moving from one pocket to another. Most examples are common, But every experienced collector knows that a close inspection can reveal important details that separate an ordinary coin from one that attracts serious bidding. While a normal circulated example is usually worth only a small premium over face value, exceptional preserved coins or authenticated rare error varieties can command dramatically higher prices. That is exactly why collectors still search through old jars, estate collections, and inherited coin albums hoping to discover something special. The 1942 Lincoln wheat cent was produced during one of the most important periods in American history. The United States had entered World War II, and factories across the country were shifting their focus towards supporting the war effort. Even while the nation faced enormous challenges, the United States Mint continued producing Lincoln cents because they remained essential for everyday commerce. Millions of Americans used these pennies to buy groceries, newspapers, candy, and household necessities. Every coin that survived carries a small piece of that remarkable history. The Philadelphia Mint struck the 1942 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, following its long-standing tradition. Because there is no mint mark beneath the date, many beginners believe the coin is rare. In reality, the absence of a mint mark simply indicates that it was produced in Philadelphia. More than 657 million examples were minted there, making it one of the higher mintage wheat cents of the era. Even so, high mintage does not prevent individual coins from becoming desirable when they possess outstanding quality or an unusual mint error. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln's portrait, created by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, appear near the lower edge of Lincoln's shoulder. Around the portrait, the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1942 complete the familiar design that has become one of America's most recognized coin designs. On the reverse, two elegant wheat ears frame the words "1 cent" and "United States of America," while the national motto "E pluribus unum" appears across the top. Collectors pay close attention to the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and the wheat stalks. Even in fine circulated condition, these details help determine the coin's overall grade and desirability. A coin that retains stronger detail with less wear often commands more attention than one with heavy circulation damage. One feature that many enthusiasts discuss is the so-called large date appearance. Although the 1942 issue is not officially divided into major large date and small date varieties in the same way as some other Lincoln cents, differences in strike strength, die wear, and the appearance of numerals can make certain examples look bolder. Collectors always rely on recognized variety references before paying premiums for any claimed date style. Another important factor is the original bronze composition. The 1942 Lincoln cent was struck from an alloy consisting primarily of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. This gives the coin its familiar reddish-brown appearance when new. After decades of circulation, many examples develop rich brown surfaces, chocolate tones, or attractive natural patina that experienced collectors often appreciate. Errors are another reason these coins continue attracting attention. While most 1942 cents are normal, a small number exhibit interesting minting mistakes. Collectors search for off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, clipped planchets, broad strikes, lamination errors, repunched mint-related characteristics on other mint issues, and dramatic double strikes. A genuine authenticated mint error can increase collector demand significantly, especially when the error is visually impressive and well-preserved. Among all possibilities, dramatic off-center strikes are particularly popular because the mistake is immediately visible. If the date remains fully readable, while a large portion of the design is missing due to an off-center strike, collectors often compete aggressively for such examples. Likewise, broad-struck coins lacking a normal raised rim can become valuable depending on their overall eye appeal and certification. Condition remains one of the biggest factors affecting value. A circulated fine example generally trades for only a modest premium over face value. Extremely fine coins bring higher prices, while mint state coins with original red color can become much more desirable. Certified examples graded at the highest levels are especially sought after because very few survive with virtually flawless surfaces after more than 80 years. Professional grading services provide confidence to buyers by verifying authenticity, grading the condition, and identifying legitimate mint errors or recognized varieties. collectors are often willing to pay stronger prices for certified coins because the uncertainty surrounding authenticity and condition has been greatly reduced. Auction history shows that exceptional Lincoln cents regularly outperform ordinary examples. When a coin combines outstanding preservation, eye appeal, rarity, and certified authenticity, competitive bidding can push prices far beyond standard catalog values. Every auction reminds collectors that quality is often more important than sheer age. Many people inherit old jars of pennies from parents or grandparents without realizing that careful examination can reveal collectible pieces. While most coins remain common, experienced searchers know that patience is rewarded. Looking carefully under good lighting, using magnification, and comparing details with trusted references are all essential steps before deciding whether a coin deserves professional evaluation. That is why the 1942 Lincoln wheat cent continues to fascinate collectors today. It connects American history, classic coin design, and the excitement of discovering hidden varieties in one affordable series. Even though ordinary circulated examples are common, the possibility of finding a remarkable error or an unusually well-preserved survivor keeps collectors searching year after year. The next coin on today's list is another Lincoln Memorial cent that many people have seen countless times, but rarely examine closely. It is the 1979 Abraham Lincoln Memorial 1 cent with no mint mark, a large date appearance, and a heavily circulated dirty condition. At first glance, it may seem like nothing more than an old penny that has spent decades passing from one pocket to another. Its faded color, worn lettering, and dark surfaces might cause most people to overlook it completely. Yet experienced collectors understand that some ordinary-looking coins can hide remarkable stories, fascinating minting characteristics, and, in rare cases, impressive collector value. That is exactly why the 1979 Philadelphia Lincoln cent continues to receive attention from numismatists across the United States. The year 1979 represented an interesting period in American history. Inflation remained a concern, gasoline prices were rising, and millions of Americans relied on cash for nearly every daily purchase. Pennies changed hands constantly at grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, and banks. Because of this heavy circulation, the United States Mint produced enormous quantities of Lincoln cents to keep commerce moving efficiently. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck billions of 1-cent coins during the year, making the 1979 no mint mark cent one of the most common dates in the Lincoln Memorial series. Although the production numbers were extremely high, collectors know that mintage alone never tells the complete story. A coin that exists in the billions can still become valuable if it displays a genuine mint error, an important die variety, or survives in an exceptionally preserved condition. This principle has guided coin collectors for generations. Instead of assuming every common date penny is worth only 1 cent, experienced hobbyists carefully inspect each example under magnification, searching for details that others might miss. The obverse of the 1979 Lincoln Memorial cent features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, the design quickly became one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. Lincoln faces to the right with calm determination, while the word liberty appears to his left. The date 1979 is positioned to the right of the portrait, and because this example was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, there is no mint mark beneath the date. Above Lincoln's head appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," completing a design that remained largely unchanged for decades. Turning the coin over reveals the Lincoln Memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparo. Introduced in 1959, this reverse replaced the famous wheat ears design and celebrated the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The memorial occupies the center of the coin with remarkable architectural detail, considering its small size. Careful observers using magnification can sometimes make out the tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a feature that has fascinated collectors for generations. Around the outer edge appear the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 cent. Unlike Lincoln cents produced after 1982, the 1979 penny was struck using the traditional bronze alloy composed primarily of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. This gives the coin a noticeably heavier weight than later copper-plated zinc cents. Collectors appreciate these earlier bronze issues because they often develop attractive brown, chocolate, red-brown, or even bright red surfaces depending on how they were stored over the years. A circulated dirty example may appear dark because of decades of handling, exposure to moisture, oils from fingers, and natural toning rather than damage caused during production. One of the first things specialists examine is the quality of the strike. Even though billions were produced, not every coin left the mint with identical sharpness. Some dies became worn after striking hundreds of thousands of coins, resulting in weaker details on Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and the memorial columns. Others display crisp, bold features because they were struck with newer dies. Strong strikes generally receive greater collector interest, particularly when combined with exceptional preservation. Collectors also inspect every letter and numeral for evidence of doubled dies. A doubled die occurs during the manufacturing of the die itself rather than during the striking of the coin. Genuine doubled dies show clear separation on specific design elements and remain among the most popular varieties in American numismatics. While major doubled dies for the 1979 Philadelphia cent are considerably scarcer than ordinary examples, authenticated varieties can command significant premiums depending on the strength of the doubling and overall condition. Another fascinating category includes off-center strikes. If the blank planchet is not correctly positioned inside the coining press, part of the design may be missing while the remaining details are shifted dramatically toward one side. The value of an off-center error depends on the percentage of the design that remains visible. Collectors generally pay higher premiums when both the date and enough of the design remain identifiable. Broad strikes also attract considerable attention. These occur when the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the coin to spread outward without its normal raised rim. The resulting coin appears wider than usual with flattened edges. Genuine broad strikes are much scarcer than ordinary circulation damage and become desirable additions to specialized collections. Die cracks provide another area of interest. As minting dies wear from repeated use, tiny fractures may develop across the hardened steel surface. These fractures appear on struck coins as raised lines crossing the design. While minor die cracks are relatively common, large and dramatic examples documenting advanced die fatigue often receive greater attention among error collectors. Clipped planchet errors are another possibility. Before striking, blank planchets are punched from long strips of metal. Occasionally, an overlap during punching removes part of the blank, creating a curved clip along the edge. If the clipped blank is struck normally, the resulting coin becomes an authentic mint error that many collectors actively seek. Because this featured example is described as being in circulated dirty condition, it is important to understand how professional graders evaluate such coins. Dirt alone does not automatically reduce collectible value if the surfaces remain original and undamaged. However, harsh cleaning, polishing, sanding, or chemical treatment almost always lowers desirability because these actions permanently alter the coin's natural appearance. Experienced collectors generally prefer original surfaces, even when darkly toned, over coins that have been improperly cleaned. Professional authentication has become increasingly important in today's market. Leading grading companies examine a coin to verify authenticity, identify genuine mint errors or varieties, and assign an official grade based on preservation. Certified examples often sell for stronger prices because buyers have confidence in the independent evaluation. This is especially true for valuable Lincoln cents that attract serious collectors from around the world. Auction history consistently demonstrates that ordinary circulated 1979 Philadelphia cents remain inexpensive. Most examples are worth only face value or a small premium. However, the story changes dramatically when an authenticated mint error, major doubled die, or exceptionally rare striking variety enters the market. Competitive bidding among advanced collectors can push prices into the thousands of dollars, particularly when the error is dramatic and well-preserved. Imagine discovering a 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial cent in an old coin jar. At first, it appears dark, dirty, and heavily circulated. Under magnification, however, you notice unusual doubling, an impressive strike anomaly, or another genuine mint-made characteristic. After careful examination by a respected grading service, the coin is confirmed as a significant collectible variety. Suddenly, what looked like an ordinary penny becomes an exciting numismatic treasure with remarkable collector appeal. For this featured example, suppose the coin combines a rare authenticated
mint error, excellent eye appeal for its category, strong collector demand, and documented auction provenance. In today's competitive market, such an extraordinary piece could realistically achieve an auction result approaching $68,500. Values at this level are reserved only for exceptionally rare certified error coins or important die varieties, not for ordinary dirty or circulated 1979 pennies. Stories like these explain why millions of collectors continue searching through bankrolls, inherited collections, and everyday pocket change. Every coin has a history, and every Lincoln cent deserves a careful look before being dismissed. While the vast majority of 1979 pennies remain common circulation pieces, the possibility of finding an authenticated rarity keeps the excitement alive. That sense of discovery is one of the greatest joys of coin collecting, reminding us that sometimes the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. Next up, the 1956 D. Abraham Lincoln Wheat. 1 cent is another coin that many collectors and everyday Americans have handled without giving it a second thought. At first glance, a circulated example with dirt, dark toning, and years of wear may seem like nothing more than an old penny. However, experienced collectors understand that appearances can be deceiving. Every coin deserves a careful inspection, because a hidden variety, an authentic mint error, or an unusually well-preserved strike can completely change its desirability in the numismatic marketplace. While an ordinary circulated 1956 D cent is generally worth only a modest premium over face value, exceptional certified examples and genuine major mint errors can bring much stronger prices at auction. The year 1956 marked an exciting period in the history of the Lincoln Wheat Cent series. America was enjoying rapid economic growth during the post-war era. New neighborhoods, highways, automobiles, and businesses were appearing across the country, and billions of coins were needed to support everyday commerce. The Denver Mint worked around the clock producing Lincoln cents that would soon enter circulation through banks, stores, vending machines, and cash registers throughout the western United States. The small D mint mark beneath the date tells collectors that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. During 1956, the Denver facility produced well over 1 billion Lincoln Wheat cents, making it one of the largest annual mintages of the Wheat Cent series. Because so many were struck, ordinary circulated examples remain common today. Nevertheless, collectors continue searching through old collections because rarity is not always determined by mintage alone. Condition, eye appeal, certified quality, and unusual minting errors can all influence collector demand. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. Above Lincoln appears the familiar inscription, "In God We Trust." To the left is the word "Liberty," while the date 1956 and the small D mint mark appear to the right. Brenner's initials, VDB, remain visible near Lincoln's shoulder, a detail appreciated by collectors who enjoy studying every element of the design. Turning the coin over reveals the classic wheat reverse that had been used since 1909. 2 graceful wheat ears frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the national motto, E Pluribus Unum. This reverse design remained in production until 1958, making the 1956 D1 of the final wheat cents before the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced it in 1959. Many collectors refer to certain 1956 cents as having a bold or large-looking date because of die characteristics or strike appearance. While the official recognized varieties are limited, specialists carefully compare the numerals, lettering, and spacing using trusted reference guides. Small differences caused by die wear or polishing can sometimes create interesting collectible die varieties,